How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another installment of our series here where we learn to Thunder Chicken better. Today we're going to be relaxing in the beautiful, yet fiery and deadly Frostfire Ridge. Orgrimmar just wasn't cutting it for this episode, and as such, it was relegated below Frostfire. The time has come to go over the remaining spells and abilities in our spellbook. I've already covered the basic spells and talent choices, so please refer to the annotations on your screen if you'd like to learn more about those. There's going to be another half of this episode, and it will cover our passive abilities as well as our DPS rotation. Chances are that video will be of more help to you. However, if you're brand new to Moonkin, you should probably watch this to get an idea of what our utility spells are and when they're useful. The next episode will cover our opener. Everything you need to know about bursting on 9 out of 10 fights will be covered in that episode. The 10th fight will never actually be covered. You never get to meet the dentist that disagrees with the other 9, so why should I treat that video any differently? If you don't appreciate my dry sense of humor, well, that's quite frankly your opinion, and I'm okay with that. Alright, the intro's done. Let's start the video. Ensue well-animated introductory cinematic. That's not here. Alright, Astral Communion. We're going to open up our spellbook. And we're going to read them. Astral Communion. This ability lets you move your eclipse bar at 3 times the normal speed. If glyphed, I'll open that up too, because why not? If glyphed, this can be cast while moving. This is really only a DPS increase in PvE if you're trying to get to a certain eclipse for a certain part of the fight. An example would be if on Chromog you wanted to be in Lunar or Solar for a Starfall or Sunfall or multi-dotting the hands, then you might want to Astral Communion as the hands are spawning as you're running over to your hand. Alright, moving on to Barkskin. This reduces damage taken by 20% for a pretty long amount of time. Actually, 12 seconds is pretty good in WoW standards. Use this more or less on cooldown whenever raid damage is going out, or save it for mechanics such as Penetrating Shot on Iron Maidens or Inferno Slice on Cruel. Barkskin is off the GCD, meaning that you can hit it in between spells. This is pretty much our only means of mitigating damage, so use it wisely. Moonkin form either grants 200% more armor, you can see it here, either grants 200% more armor or 10% bonus health, depending on whether or not it's glyphed. Glyph of Moon Warding. Bear form, however, grants you 250% armor and 20% more health. It's shitty to have to shift in and out of bear form, but chances are damage isn't as important as living. So I personally shift into bear form to survive multiple mechanics on Mythic Blackhand, such as the Shattering Smash and the Massive Demolitions. Moving over to Dash, this will automatically shift you into cat form and grant you a 70% bonus movement speed, on top of the 30% that cat form already grants you. Remember that shape-shifting removes slows and roots on you, such as the raid-wide slow from Faultline on Mythic Beastlord. Hurricane is a channeled targeted ability. You drop the target reticle and you wave your hands in the air like you just don't care, as you can see on my screen. Hurricane is really only worth it at the moment on about 7+ targets, but firstly you want to make sure that you have Starfall up and that all the mobs are dotted if they're going to live for any amount of time, more than like, let's say 10 seconds, somewhere around there. The only fights Hurricane is really worth it on is Operator Thogar or Tectis. You wouldn't want to be channeling for anywhere close to its full duration, but after hitting Starfall and dotting, it's probably worth it for a few seconds until you have to hit Starfall again or move. So that's Hurricane. We're moving down the list. We're not going to worry about those. We already covered that one. Mangle's not that big of a deal. We're going to go down to Mark of the Wild. Hit it before each pull. Okay, cool. I skipped Healing Touch, so we're going to do that now. No, we're not. Yeah, we are. Okay, I skipped Healing Touch so that I could talk about it and Rejuve at the same time. As a balanced druid, first and foremost, you're a hybrid caster. Between these two abilities, Nature's Vigil and your level 30 talent, you shouldn't have any issues keeping yourself up if need be. If you're going to be out of range or line of sight from the healers on, let's say, Ore Gorger, you can keep yourself alive. You can solo the balconies on Blackhand. You can rejuve people while moving on literally any fight. One that comes to mind is Imperator Margok. Chances are that your raid outgears whatever fight you're working on, and because of that, you don't need to do optimal DPS. If your healers are having trouble keeping everyone alive, just go ahead and top yourself off or throw out some rejuves just to help them out. We're backtracking. We're going up to Rebirth. You have an insta-cast Rebirth, Battle Res, that can be used anytime a res is available, even if you have already resed someone that attempt. You can use this multiple times per fight on dead people if you have reses available. If glyphed, the person should res at 100 HP, you are the best class to res players, because it's an instant cast, and they res at 100%, and your damage probably doesn't matter that much. So do that. You can dispel curses and poisons. Not particularly useful this tier, still probably useful eventually in PvE, so know that you can do that. Solar Beam is an AoE interrupt and silence. Most raid mobs can only be interrupted, as they cannot be silenced. It's still worth casting though. It's on a 1-minute cooldown, so other classes are way better at interrupting than we are, but ours has a small cleave, so it's pretty good. Now, we can dispel enrages with Soothe. Now, I'm not talking like the 6-minute enrage on Gruul that instantly kills your raid, but for instance, the enrage from the Wolf Mount on Beastlord. You can dispel that, say, 15-second debuff that the mob gets that increases damage that the target deals by like a buttload. So you can dispel that, and it'll reduce tank damage. There you go. Stampeding Roar. Welcome to the reason that we're brought to Operator Thogar. This should almost always be glyphed. When it's glyphed, it's a 40-yard AoE, and it's 40-yard AoE 60% movement speed buff for 8 seconds. That also removes roots and slows. Chances are there will be set times during the fight to cast this. If not, use it whenever there's high raid movement, such as... Well, that covers most of our spells that we haven't yet covered. There are a few of them that I didn't cover. Like, for instance, I didn't cover like Revive or like any of the abilities that we get in like cat form or bear form. You should read over them though and see what they do, just to familiarize yourself with the class. This video was a little bit more on the short side. I say that even though it's like already reached 10 minutes or whatever. The other half of this video will be all about our passive abilities, all the ones on this page, and it'll also cover our DPS rotation. Now next week's video will cover our opener, so how to burst well as Minkins, which we're really good at, and you should all know how to do well. But until then, team, thank you all for watching, and have a great day.